Let's dive into a problem that I'm sure keeps a lot of us homelabbers up at night. Finding that perfect server. You know, the one that can do it all. But as we're about to find out, the search for the best network-attached storage, or NAS, isn't just about raw speed and specs. Nope, it's about something way, way more fundamental.
And that quote right there, that's the whole ballgame. This isn't just a tech review, it's a quest. A quest for a piece of gear that gives you control, that gives you flexibility, a server that actually works for you, instead of trying to box you in.
So before we get to the big reveal, we really need to dig into the why. Why is it that the brands we all know, the big names on the box, just don't seem to get what a serious Homelab builder actually needs? Let's start with Synology. For the longest time, they were the default answer, right? The easy recommendation. But things have changed, and now that shiny, user-friendly ecosystem feels a lot more like, well, a premium-priced handcuff.
So what do those handcuffs actually feel like? Well, it's that walled garden where they try to force you to buy their overpriced hard drives. It's when apps you depend on just disappear after an update. It's being completely locked into their operating system with no way out. You end up with this feeling that you're constantly fighting your own hardware.
Okay, so what about the other major player, QNAP? Well, they bring a whole different set of headaches to the table. It's less about the software prison and more about being stuck between a rock and a hard place with their hardware.
See, here's the frustrating thing with QNAP. The models you can actually afford are usually too weak to do the fun stuff, like running a bunch of virtual machines or a fleet of apps and containers. But the second you look at a model that does have enough horsepower, the price just goes through the roof. It's just not a great path if you want your lab to grow with you.
And the new guys, the up-and-comers, well, Ugreen looked really promising, but you literally can't buy their stuff on an entire continent. Kind of hard to recommend a product that doesn't exist for a huge chunk of your audience. Then you've got Zettlab. The hardware looks cool, but they are so new, it's a total gamble. You're betting your data on unproven software and support. Maybe one to watch, but not one to buy, yet.
So, if the old guard is letting us down, and the newcomers are too risky, where do we turn? We go looking for an underdog. We hunt for that one product that isn't spending a fortune on marketing, but is putting all its effort into the hardware itself.
And this is exactly what we found. A classic sleeper hit. You know the feeling? It's that product you stumble upon that just completely blows you away, and you're left wondering, why isn't everyone talking about this?
And that sleeper hit, the hero of our story, is the ORICO CyberData CF56 Pro. Now, I know what you might be thinking. ORICO? The company that makes all those hard drive enclosures and USB hubs? Yep, and trust me, they've built an absolute beast. Okay, enough talk. Let's get to the proof. Let's look at the raw specs and see why this machine isn't just a contender, but a potential champion for your home lab.
Just look at this. We are not messing around with some low-power mobile chip. This is a 12-core, 16-thread Intel i5. It ships with 16 gigs of fast DDR5 RAM, but you can crank that all the way up to 96 gigs. You get 5 normal SATA drive bays for bulk storage. Plus, get this, 6 M2 slots for blazingly fast NVMe drives, and dual 10 gigabit Ethernet comes standard. This is pro-level stuff.
And this chart really just puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? When you put the ORICO side by side with your average consumer NAS from the big brands, it's not even a contest. The power you get in terms of CPU cores, RAM potential, and network speed is it's in a completely different universe.
But remember that quote from the beginning? It wasn't just about specs. All this amazing hardware is only half of the equation. The other half, the part that really matters, is the freedom. And this is what freedom looks like. Because the ORICO doesn't care what you run on it. It's your server, so you install the operating system you want. You want the incredible power of ZFS? Install TrueNAS Scale. You prefer the dead simple drive pooling of Unraid? Go for it. You want to build a full-on virtualization monster? Slap Proxmox on there. It's your choice. And here is the absolute best part. There are no hoops to jump through, no weird hacks needed. No annoying little pop-ups telling you your hardware isn't supported. You buy the box,
You own the box, and the box gets out of your way. That's the freedom we were looking for. So what does all this mean? We've got incredible power. We've got total freedom. What's the payoff? What can you actually do with all this? Well, it means your Homelab is finally, truly unleashed.
With this one machine, you can do everything. It can be your file server and your virtualization server. You have more than enough power to run complex apps with Docker or even massive Kubernetes clusters. You can actually host and experiment with local AI models. You can run a monster Plex or Jellyfin server that never struggles to transcode. It becomes the one true heart of your entire digital setup.
Which brings us to a simple but very powerful piece of advice that comes from the source material, and it's this. Don't sleep on ORICO. It really just boils down to these three things. The hardware is honestly overpowered for what you'd expect. The all-aluminum build feels incredibly premium, and most critically, it sets you free from the ecosystem handcuffs that have come to define the mainstream market. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world that's just full of walled gardens and locked-down tech, maybe, just maybe, the most important feature isn't something you can find on a spec sheet. Maybe it's the freedom to actually own and control the technology you paid for. What do you think?